Hey guys, Hector Castillo here. Today we're going to be talking about America. And why America is the greatest. Okay, I'm kidding. Why I want to talk about America is I want to share a revelation I had about American culture and the social culture, right? The way that culture. I'm getting a bit of an accent already. I'm back in America now, and all of a sudden I'm getting a country accent. Okay, so when I was abroad in America, I saw very clearly the distinctions between American culture and generally, let's say, European culture. But of course, there's so many different cultures in Europe, right? I spent most of my time in Eastern Europe, okay? So I saw a very stark difference. And the biggest difference between pretty much America and anywhere else, it's not just Eastern Europe, but Eastern Europe is a lot more cold, not friendly. People don't talk to each other, but it's that way in Germany and, and even a little bit in Norway and Sweden, but they're a little bit more social. But compared to Americans, the entire world is very antisocial. Very, very antisocial. And I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean that as a description of the social lives of Americans versus other people, right? If you're not from America or spent a lot of time in America, when you go to a grocery store and someone is next to you, and there's a very good chance that someone in line will just start talking to you. They'll make a comment on something you have. They'll say, hey, how are you? If you turn towards someone, there's a very good chance someone's going to say, hey, how are you? And they'll have a conversation with you. And I shit you fucking not, right? And Americans, you'll understand. Someone will very possibly, very likely give you their entire life story. Just in the fucking grocery line. They will just start talking to you and you'll know everything about them. You'll know that they just survived a battle with cancer and that they were a veteran, or they were doing this, or, they just got a new job. Like, you will learn a lot about people because Americans are very social. And when you're very social, you tend to, you need something to talk about. What's the thing you know most about? Yourself. You're just going to talk about yourself, okay? In Europe, that is very, very strange. There are, of course, social people in Europe, right? And what's interesting is that the most successful men in, like, the dating sphere, or the men who are more popular, when I found, they tend to be really social. And they'll just walk up to random people and talk to people, right? Because they have the skill to do it in a non-annoying way because they've practiced, right? Well, the average American is that social just by nature. Not always. There's definitely shy, antisocial, introverted Americans for sure. But the amount of socializing that the average American does is like 10 orders of magnitude greater than anywhere else in the world that I've seen. Okay? And there might be whatever sociological, fucking socioeconomic reasons for it. I don't give a shit. I'm not a sociologist. I'm just teaching you how to be a better dater and a better socializer and to be, get friends, be popular, and get girls. That's my goal with you, right? So this isn't a fucking essay. This is just an advice video, okay? So the reason, or because Americans are so social like that, they are going to be, on average, better at cold approach, talking to girls, getting girls, being in relationships, being friendly and making friends. They're just going to be better in all those cases. And that skill is going to extend into their professional life. They're going to be better at workplace relationships. They're going to be better at navigating, workplace politics or friend group politics, social circle, reputation, etc. Okay. Whereas the average European or Eastern European is a little bit more insular, right? Once you're in their little world, you're family, right? But if you're not in that bubble, like, people kind of act as if you don't exist and really don't go out of their way, and will actually go out of their way to actively avoid talking to you. And if you're not an American, or if you're not a social American, what I suggest for the sake of your dating life, well, I don't want to change. I don't want to be like that. That's fine, right? This is an advice video, okay? You can either take the advice or not. But as someone who does this professionally and coaches people, I can tell you that the average American's social skills are orders of magnitude greater than anyone else. Right? The best players that I know are American because they have trained that social muscle and that social instinct by just fucking talking a lot. Okay? And some people on the outside might hate it, might find it annoying. Americans are loud, they're obnoxious, they think the whole world revolves around them, blah, 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 blah. I don't give a shit. Again, this is an advice video, right? Not glorifying it. I'm just telling you, if you practice a skill, it would be like if Americans were actually the fittest country in the world, right? And like, oh, you think Americans... Well, if they're on average going to the gym more and eating healthier, they're going to be fitter. It's just a skill. Same thing with socializing. If Americans are socializing a lot, they're going to be better at socializing. It's not fucking hard to understand, okay? So what I want you to practice, even if you are an American, right, you should practice this skill even more. Start being more outgoing in general. This is going to help you with your dating life. It's going to help with cold approach, talking to random girls that you don't know, right? You're going to need this ability to go up to a stranger and have a heart-to-heart conversation with them in the first 5 minutes. Now, you don't need to actually have a deep conversation and learn their life story, right? But what you want is the familiarity and the feeling of like, oh, this person is my friend, even though I just met them. Like, I feel really cool with them. If you're able to give off that energy and that vibe, it's going to help so much with when you walk up to a random girl that you don't know and, you know, try to flirt with her and ask her out. Okay. And it's going to help you get friends, and those friend groups are going to help you meet more girls or just meet friends because you want to hang out with friends and spend time with like-minded people that you respect and value. And more than just learning this social instinct, you're also going to be improving your inner library of recognizing how other people are responding to you. Okay. Because I had a client recently. He's from, I think he's Indian, and he's living in Canada. And he sent me a recording of a cold approach that he did. And he said, hey, I don't really know what went wrong here. I added her on Instagram and she never accepted my follow request. Can you tell me what went wrong? So I started listening to the recording, and I'd previously given this guy advice that he doesn't have like a super high-pitched whiny voice, and his accent's not that strong, right? I mean, you can definitely tell he's Indian, but it's not that strong of an accent. But he does have this, like, he just talks like this, and it's very monotone, and it is a little bit deep and masculine, but it doesn't have any, like, there's no intonation, there's no character or life to the way he talks. It's very boring. And I told him that. So that's what I expected to hear. But then I saw really the bigger problem that's happening with him. He walks up to the girl, gives her a compliment. She goes, oh, thank you. And then for 5 minutes straight, this guy proceeds to talk non-fucking stop, but does not listen at all to what she's saying, right? So he's just talking. He's like, yeah, you know, where are you from? Oh, from here. Oh, yeah, cool. You know, that place is like this. And hi. She's like, yeah. And he's like, da-da-da-da-da. And she just goes, yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, da-da-da-da. So he keeps like he just like talks about random shit, right? And at first it's like, okay, he's being social. And then he just keeps going on. Like, he's just creating filler conversation. And I respect his ability to just talk about fucking anything. So in that case, he is kind of like an American. He's just fucking blabbing his mouth, okay? But what he's failing to do, because he's still learning social skills, is he has no idea that this girl couldn't give less of a fuck about what this guy is saying. Now, she's not really annoyed with him. You could hear in her voice, because I can hear in her tonality, right? But he's actually there and could see her body language. So he should be picking this up. I can pick it up just because of her tonality. She's like, uh-huh, okay, yeah, uh-huh. So she's like being polite and being nice. And it doesn't sound like there's even any hidden annoyance, but there is very clearly no interest. Okay, she's just like the most neutral you could fucking be, right? And the one time when there was actually some emotion from her, she challenged him. He asked, she moved from somewhere in California, I think, to the city in Canada where he lives. And he was like, well, why'd you move here? And she went, well, why not? So there was an interesting point where she kind of challenged him. And she said it with kind of voice like, well, why not? And he just went, well, that's a good point. It's like, oh, you know, there could have been some fun there, right? You could have been like, well, the weather here fucking sucks, right? Just challenge her. Just have fun with it, right? There was actually a point, because when a girl challenges you, that's actually a time to flirt with her, right? But he just folded. He's like, well, you make a good point. Which means that his question of why did you move here wasn't really, I guess it wasn't really thought out. It was just a question he's asking. There wasn't actually any thought behind it, because if there was thought behind it, he would have something in the chamber to already pump out. Why'd you move here? Well, why not? Because this place fucking sucks, right? Then she could go, well, why do you live here? Be like, well, I'm fucking stuck here for the moment. Or I'd be like, well, you know, I'm trying to get out of here, actually. I would love to go back where you're from. Do you want to switch places, right? Well, I'm already here. Well, you hook me up with whoever you were hanging out with back there, and we'll swap families. Like, that would be funny. That would be cute, right? That just came off the fucking cuff right there, right? Because I know why I'm asking the question. But he was just asking the question just fucking out of fucking nowhere, okay? It was just a filler. It was just something to say. There was no character behind it, no real thought and intention behind it, right? And you'll catch yourself in this type. It's better than just being quiet, not knowing what to say, okay? At least he's fucking trying, so kudos for that, right? And he's doing cold approach, so he's better than 99% of you watching this, because you're too much of a fucking pussy to go out and talk to girls you don't know, right? So he's winning, okay? Right? Even though I'm criticizing him and admonishing him a little bit, he's still winning by trying, okay? But what he needs to work on is he needs to realize that you can be talking a lot and being social, but you need to be paying attention to the person that you are talking to, because you need to see how they're receiving it. And pretty much the entire time, if you were to listen to, I'm not going to share the audio because, you know, it was just private between us, but it was just like, hey, da-da-da, yeah, okay, yeah, 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 like, it's basically that meme of like, you ever seen that, like, you know, when you're on the 13th, wow, that's crazy to a person, and they still don't get that you don't want to talk. You know, I don't know if you've seen that meme before, but it's basically fucking that. She's just kind of like, yeah, being polite, not annoyed, but not really interested either. He should have recognized that she wasn't into it. He did have a chance when she kind of challenged him, like, why not, to make some fun, but besides that, it was lost. She wasn't attracted, and that's why she didn't accept his follow request, right? She didn't tell him, fuck off, you're a fucking creep, like, oh my god, why are you talking to me, right? He was being friendly and polite, but there was no character behind it. And a lot of what is character is having something to say, but also knowing when to stop talking and let the other person talk. He could have slowed down his speech too. He was just like, just like a machine gun. But also knowing how this person is receiving you, and then either trying to change the conversation, ask them a question so that they might be interested in, or just being quiet and giving them a chance to offer their own input. And then if you do all of the right moves and she's still not interested, okay, she's just not attracted to me. So there's no spark here. Right? You need at least a spark to start the fire. If there's no spark, you could be the best conversationalist in the world, but she's not going to give you anything to work with, because that's how a real conversation works. You don't just say some fucking lines. That's retarded. Good conversation is listening, right? Good conversation is like 80% listening, 20% talking. And knowing, oh, this person likes what I'm talking about, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And the reason why this video is about Americans is because when you get a lot of practice doing this, you're going to see that Americans are really good at picking up on the subtle social signals that people are giving off. Whereas my experience in Europe, a lot of people are less trained, okay? And especially in Eastern Europe, and especially in demographics that are, you know, a little bit less. This could be the reason why Americans are so social, is because for the most part, a lot of their economic needs, like their basic survival, is already kind of taken care of. So they have more time to focus on socializing. Whereas someone in Eastern Europe, I mean, it's not like they're on the fucking street, right? But their level of prosperity is lesser. So they have a larger potential to have a bit more of a negative view of the world, but also in some cases, unfortunately, to have a bit of a manipulative view of the world and see circumstances as a chance to take advantage of people because they don't have a lot, right? Most of the scammers that I've met in my life were, you know, in poorer areas. There's, of course, scammers in America all the time, right? And in first world countries, but I saw more of them in situations where people are more desperate. And so people in America might have that prosperity, and so they have more time to just talk about things. And when they talk to you, they're just talking to you to be social. That's it. That's their main, you know, the amount of gold diggers in America is so dramatically less than the amount of gold diggers in Eastern Europe, right? People are like, oh, women in the West are gold diggers. It's like, no, the most gold diggers you're going to find are in third world countries because they fucking need it, right? The amount of gold diggers in America is exponentially less, okay? Because when someone's talking to you, when they have everything they need, they're talking to you because they want to talk to you, not because they need to, for some reason, right? The girl talking to me because she finds out I'm American suddenly perks up, starts to, you know, get a little bit more sexy, starts to play the game a little bit more. Okay, I know what she's doing, right? I was able to recognize it. But you can embody this mentality even if you're not in a place of prosperity. You can talk to people from a mental place of prosperity because it's the most skillful way to actually, in the end, get what you want. Not manipulatively, where you're like, I'm going to get this from them because I'm being charming. It's going to come off phony. But going to people genuinely trying to be social and friendly with them. Well, if you end up doing that with sincerity, right? But you recognize it's a good strategy, but it's not the actual motivation of you talking to them, you'll actually end up in the future getting more from people because they will be happily willing to offer that to you. And I'm not just talking about, you know, like job opportunities or a friend helping you out when you're in a time of need. I'm talking about just purely dating, right? If you want a girl to give you sex, right, and give you affection, well, you should come from a place of coming up and talking to her because you're attracted to her and you want to give her love, sex, and affection. I want to give to you and I want to get to know you and I'm curious about you and I'm interested in you. I'm not coming to you because I need you. I'm coming to you because I want you. And if you come from that place by actively being mindful of your motivations of when you go to talk to a girl, So this client, he goes to talk to this girl and he's just like, I need to talk. I need to talk because that's what you have to do to pick up a girl. But if instead he comes from a place of, no, I want to connect with her. And sometimes connecting with someone is leaving a pause in the conversation or, really listening to how she's talking so I can get a gauge of, is this a good conversational topic or should I switch it or should I just stop talking to her in general? And if you train yourself to be more fluid with that, even if you lose this girl because she just wasn't interested in you in the first place, but if you take that lesson and you continue to apply it, when you do meet a girl who does like you and there's a spark there, you can turn it into a full-fledged fire because you have the skill to recognize, yeah, she likes me, but I can kind of feel like this conversation is I don't know why, I feel instinctually it's veering off the rails. So you bring it back by asking a different question, changing the topic, or just shutting up and letting her talk and invest in the conversation more. Because via practice of talking to a lot of people, right, and being an American in spirit, that when you give that person the chance to invest in the conversation, they become more invested in the conversation, and then they will start contributing to the conversation. And then that creates a compounding, they value it more, so they contribute more. They value more, so they contribute more. And so she'll start asking questions. She'll start talking about her day or just telling you some fucking random story because you've opened up the gate enough to be social and kind of just talk, but then you step back and you allow her to take her step forward and do whatever she wants to do and connect with you and express herself. And then a real genuine bond is being born rather than you just right? Trying to salesman your way through it. But the best salesman isn't coming up saying, hey, 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 hey. He comes up, he asks you, hey, do you need something? And he can tell you're not really, interested in talking. He goes, okay, I'll let you look around, come if you need me. And then the person looking at the cars goes, oh, that guy's not pushy. Well, then when they have a question about a car they like, they're going to come to you rather than the other guy who was up their ass from the moment they walked into the car lot. Okay? See? So basically, Americans are really good at socializing because we do it a lot. And by doing it a lot, we get a lot of information to dissect, and in that information to dissect we can figure out what works and what doesn't work. But it all comes back from the fundamental, and our motivation is just to be social, because like I said, I guess that prosperity, when you have that basic level of survival and comfort, you're like, okay, I can actually do things because I want to. And that comes from much more of a sincere place where people feel good to be around you, rather than when you come from a place of needing something from someone and they feel like you're trying to take away from them rather than share with them. So being very social, that's the first thing. And then once you're being very social, paying attention to what works and what doesn't, so being smart. And thirdly, coming from a good place where you're wanting to connect with people rather than wanting to take from people. So if you can absorb those qualities that I've seen predominantly in Americans, you can really supercharge your social life and your dating life. Okay? Cool. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment. I'm sure at some point I'll get a comment of people who hate Americans and think, we're the center of the world. And maybe we are, because we're the best. Who the fuck knows? American flag. Okay. Anyways, I hope it was a helpful video, and I hope not too many people got upset that I'm talking up Americans. Whatever. I've dealt with a lot of American hate when I was traveling around Europe. It was like the #1 prejudice that I experienced was people just fucking hating on Americans. It was very interesting. They either loved it, they're like, oh my God, tell me all about it, or they fucking hated it. There wasn't a lot of in-between room. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, go fuck yourself. I love you. Ciao.